So I don't know what the solution is about how you create that proper incentive structure, but we are going to be living in a world in which meaning and wealth are of a fundamentally different nature. And what we want is for people to have the tools and the incentive to explore that world productively so that when they do it well, they end up economically enhanced. And when they do it poorly, they suffer a challenge so that they are naturally led by that world to find stuff that creates wealth for all of us.
Right. Well, maybe it starts with the education system. Maybe we have to incentivize people to pursue their dreams instead of just to try to find a job. Because this is the way the education system is scheduled now, or is set up now. It's basically, you go back to the Rockefellers, right? You're basically trying to make factory workers. You're trying to make people that obey. The earlier you can get them into school, the better, because the more you can indoctrinate them into the way the system works. You get them accustomed. You get these kids that are filled with fucking energy and they're excited about the world. They just want to play all the time, and you make them just sit down all day. And when they don't, you say, that little fella's got ADD. He's not paying attention. We need to give him some Ritalin. And the little fucker is just sitting there jacked out of his mind on Ritalin now. And this is what we've done. And instead of having an education system that educates people that way, have an education system that excites people about learning things they're actually interested in.
Hell yeah. But again, this is another version where it's not like AI is a bad fit for the education system. It certainly is. But the education system has been garbage. My whole life existed with an education system that was almost totally worthless, and in some cases was counterproductive, which is, I think, why some of us folks with learning disabilities actually turn out to have an advantage. It's not that there's something good about having a learning disability, but if it breaks your relationship to school, so school has less of an easy time programming you to be a cog, then you at least retain the potential to be something other than a cog.
I don't think I had a learning disability, but I was a latchkey kid, right? So I didn't have a lot of guidance when I was young, and I wasn't used to people telling me what to do, and I didn't enjoy it. And also, I had a lot of energy, and it was very difficult for me to pay attention to boring things by uninspired teachers. But then again, every now and then I'd have an inspired teacher, and I'd go, okay, maybe I'm not stupid. Like, maybe I'm just bored. And then I'd get really interested in something, and then I'd learn a lot about it. And then I'd be able to, like, tell people about it. I'd talk to my friends. Well, you know what I learned today? And then we'd have these conversations about it. I'm like, okay, it's not that I'm not curious or interested. It's that I'm not being inspired. Now, why is that? Is it because I'm 10? This is just hard to be inspired by things when you're 10 because you're just a little fucking dork and you're running around reading comic books and paying attention to other things, and you don't really care about math or you don't care about history. What is it? But whatever it is, the system's not working for you. You have to find some sort of inspiration outside of it. And I've been educated almost entirely outside of schools. Almost all of what I know from books that I read because I was interested, or I listened to audiobooks, or I listened to podcasts, or I had conversations with people like you. That's how I learned things. And it wasn't that I wasn't interested. It wasn't that I wasn't smart. It was that I was not inspired. I didn't know that I wasn't a loser until I got really good at other things. And I'm like, I can get good at things. Okay, so if I can get good at things, it's not that I'm a loser. It's just like, I can't work a job. I can't just show up every day and do something that's not exciting to me. But that doesn't mean I'm useless. It just means I'm useless for that. I don't have the personality to just sit there and go over paperwork. I can't. I'll go crazy. But that go crazy part is also what lets you have the courage or the motivation to go and try a path that seems unlikely for success, and to have the courage to say, well, some people succeed. Why don't I fucking try it? And just, I can't do this. Fuck it. Let's give it a go. And then that's how you become a stand-up comedian. Nobody thinks that's a good path. Like, out of 100 stand-up comedians that do open mic night, maybe one will have some sort of a career in comedy.
Well, I'm really glad you're telling me this, because back when I was a college professor before 2017, I used to be, since I was a terrible student myself, I was fascinated by the students who had really high potential but were just not a good fit for school. So I was really interested in what made people smart, especially when it had nothing to do with school or happened in spite of school. And your story fits perfectly here. In fact, what you describe is sort of the equivalent of a learning disability, right? Like suspicion that your teachers aren't all that, and maybe you're not so thrilled at sitting there listening to them. You know, occasionally it sounds like you had a teacher who was pretty good. But
yes, thank God.
me too. I had about 1 in 5
Yeah.
teachers.
That's good. That's a great number.
Wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
But for the rest of the time, you know, school was so busy dismissing me as, you know, not performing to potential was what it said every time on my report card, right? That it was just really demoralizing. And I remember sort of in the 2nd grade having a kind of choice. I didn't know what it was that I was choosing between, but it was like I can either surrender to their understanding of who I am, or I can stop respecting them. And so it created an attitude problem. Sounds like you had a similar attitude problem. And those, you know, I wish I could give every student that attitude problem.